They're playing Never Gonna Give You Up in like orchestral music in my hallway right now. My apartment's weird. My name is Ethan. I'm a comic book creator, and this is my fourth video now. Yeah, fourth video. This week I'm gonna sort of keep it a little bit short. Last week was a little longer, going over through a time lapse of one of my pages for the title page for my comic book. So this week I thought I could keep it a little bit shorter. I'm gonna try to stay within around 5 to 6 minutes on my video here. But what I wanted to discuss with you guys was a little piece of phenomenon that I've experienced that I don't know, or really, I'm not very good at explaining or articulating it or the reasons for it even have happened in the first place. But it was very interesting to me in the creative process that I go through. And I wanted to share it with you guys because it was one of the most surreal experiences that I had ever had happen to me while I was designing this comic book. And I mean, I'm still designing the comic book, but in the very early stages, when I was first just coming up with ideas for a comic book, I hadn't even had the story of the comic book in mind at this time. I had a couple of character ideas that I really liked. I think I had like Maxwell and Milkshake, maybe even the main character Jesse sketched out a couple of times, but it wasn't to the point that I had a full comic book idea. I just knew that I wanted to design something, and I didn't really have a guideline as to what I was going to follow for it. So then one day, I'm sitting at work, just bored, not really thinking about comic book stories. I work at a call center, so we answer phones, and usually when we get slow, I just draw. I'll just sit on my desk and draw pictures of stuff, namely character designs and random sketches in my sketchbook. And one day I drew this character. His name is Bubba Moon, and I may have talked about him to some of you guys before. He's really not crucial. He's not a crucial element to the first book at all, at least not to the plot of it. He's just a cool character. I liked his character model. I liked how he looked. He kind of puts off this happy-go-lucky vibes that I appreciate, and I kind of thought was cool looking, anyways. And I drew him out. I drew this first sketch. First, it was this side profile. Whoops, this side profile of him. Then I drew him holding a tray of food. And then I drew him up here, more fully detailed, with him waving. And it was so surreal because as soon as I drew these models out for him, without thinking about the story of the first comic book at all, instantly, the plot of the first book popped into my head. I just knew exactly how it was going to begin, how it was going to end, how the middle sections was going to be, and I knew, even without Bubba, some characters popped up into my mind too, or not designs or models or anything, but character elements and people that I would further elaborate into characters. All from just one drawing. From one sketch, this sketch in particular, which is why I keep this sketch because it's very important to me, because it was from this one sketch that the entire plot of my first comic book came into my brain. And I have never experienced such sheer inspiration off of something that really didn't have much to do with what it is that I was inspired to write ever before in my experience of designing and creating art. It gave me chills in the back of my neck when it first happened, because never before in my entire life had just pure inspiration struck me. I'm not saying that my comic book is going to be insanely genius or anything on those lines, but it was really weird to have it just pop into my mind. It was like it had always been in my mind, and just drawing Bubba, for example, was like the shovel that dug it out of my mind, and I was able to get it out, and I wrote down, actually, in my notebook here, that day, the entire sequence of the first comic book, which you guys, I'm kind of glad you can't read it because spoiler alerts, but when I say that Bubba doesn't have much to do with the comic book, he really doesn't. He's probably like this small section is what Bubba's in. The rest of the comic book is dealing with the other characters and story elements. So where did that come from? it's an idea that's been prickling my mind a lot lately, and I really want to find and recreate something like that where this inspiration pops into my mind again, because it was remarkable how quickly ideas had just come into my brain from just a sketch of a character, just a sketch of a guy in a Hawaiian t-shirt with a mustache. I don't understand how something like that happens. So if anything like that has ever happened to you guys, please reach out to me and let me hear your story about it, because I don't know. I want to research more into the notion of inspiration when it comes to creating art, because that's something too that's become really interesting to me. And I don't know if it's boring to you guys to listen to me talk about it, but I genuinely find a really deep interest in that sort of thing. It's fascinating to me, really. I needed to take a breath. I was talking for a really long time. And here's a sketch of where Bubba works, Bubba's Diner, which sort of ties into what I'm going to be doing next week's video upon. I'm doing next week's video on, I can't talk. I'm bad at this. But maybe I'll be good at it someday. Anyways, Bubba Moon's Diner. It's a location in the first book. It's going to be a routine location in a couple of the books. It's just a diner that Bubba owns and he runs. But that brings into the next week's video, which is city design, setting design too. I've never before had to design a city before, until now, when I realized that I need to have a realistic, well, not necessarily realistic, but a understandable and easy to follow setting for my comic book, which I've accumulated into Summit View County, which is the location where everybody lives. It's the town where all these strange encounters are happening. And next week, I'm going to be going deeper into the elements of city design that I'm studying and trying to implement into my comic book. And I have started doing that. I might show you a time-lapse of one of the images and concept arts and pieces that I did that will show you how I did the road layout for the city, which allowed me to pinpoint where all the locations are and all that good stuff. So I'll show you guys all that stuff next week and go deeper into it. But figured I'd give you a little preview on it. Figured Bubba Moon ties into Bubba Moon's Diner, so nice little preview for what I'll be talking about next week, and maybe continue on in some of the philosophies of character, well, not character, even just creation of content, creation of having a creative process and talking about it. Hopefully it's not too boring for you guys. I find it really interesting. That's why I like talking about it, and I think it's fun to talk about. So hopefully you guys do too as well. Until next week, I wish you guys all the best of the rest of your week, the rest of your day, the rest of your night, rest of your hour. Hopefully you guys don't get too stressed out. Down here it's been a little bit cold. I don't really like the cold too much, but maybe I'll start liking it now that things are moving along. So, awesome, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you so much for watching, and I will look forward to talking to you guys in the next video. To sign out, guys, I just want to give a huge shout out to Scuff Station Gaming for partnering with me and my channel. SSG is an esports organization that competes and creates content in a whole variety of different games. And if you're looking to join or look into it further, our links are in the description of today's video, as well as my personal social media accounts and my personal website as well. So feel free to check that out in the description below. And thank you guys so much for watching again.